Oh, hello. I'm John Killey. This is my final presentation, the Monomyth Culture and Ecosystems Ecology. Yeah, so let's go right into it. Slide. My roommate's helping me. Thank you to my roommate. Okay, so what is the monomyth? This term was first coined by David Campbell in 1949, the hero with 1,000 faces. Basically, it's the hero's journey, the archetype of the hero's journey. And of course, like this idea has been kind of like written down and it's like been established way before 1949. That's just kind of when David Campbell first kind of put all these pieces together. So the hero's journey, the monomyth, we see it all throughout religious stories and pretty much any story revolving around a hero. Just a quick summary of what the hero's journey kind of entails. It's kind of a great adventure involving a hero born someone of a new hope who needs to live up to what others think him to be of some type of great man. The great adventure starts with a call to action that they initially refuse, but then change of heart. They depart from the safety of the monotony of their lives, cross a barrier into a new world, an unknown and terrifying world, and they'll overcome several obstacles, face some of their greatest fears, in order to achieve a certain ends, a certain goal, and then return back changed for the better or for the betterment of the community. So that's a brief summation. So next slide. So this story structure is one of the most prevalent in kind of storytelling. So I'm just going to go over a couple of examples of the monomyth in religious stories first. I'm going to use Christianity just because, for one, I know it the best, and there's a lot of heroes, archetypal heroes in the Bible. We can also see a lot of the same similarities in story with the Buddha in the Popol Vuh with the twins' journey, as we did in class, and even ancient Greek stories like the Odyssey. But I'm going to focus on Christianity, Moses, and Jesus. And I think right now we can start to think, why is this template, as we see it, so often used in these stories with huge moral implications in these religious stories? So next slide, I'm going to go into specifically Jesus's monomythic kind of hero's journey template, just as an example. So there's Jesus. Starts with his birth. Obviously, he was born as kind of a new king, born into a world where there was a lot of opposition to him already. King Herod, the call to kill all babies. His birth was a signifying of a change, that he's going to be a great man by those weeping shepherds and the wise men. His call to action was the baptism, where God called him the Son of God, and that was really the start of his public ministry, which you could see as his journey, crossing the threshold into his public ministry. All the trials he went through, obviously tempted demons, Romans, Jewish religious leaders, all that resistance, in order to achieve the end goal of salvation. He literally has to die, go to the deepest parts of hell, and receive, and then come back and receive and get the treasure, the salvation, and return back with the ascension and the changed status quo of obviously attainable salvation, the Holy Spirit among man. So that's just kind of an example of a hero story with kind of the moral implications. So again, monomyth, focusing on how pervasive it is in our culture. We can look at a lot of non-religious storytelling. Really, two reasons why it's so common in non-religious storytelling. One, conscious effort of the writers to follow these kind of hero journeys that were laid out in the Bible. Kind of J.K. Rowling's Harry Potter, C.S. Lewis, The Chronicles of Narnia, J.R. Tolkien's The Hobbit, all of whom are, like I said, explicitly they're following the Christian kind of Jesus's monomythic, which is kind of one of the biggest, the most basis, the largest monomyth story in modern Western civilization. Another reason is just kind of modern screenwriting. Save the Cat, Blake Snyder, just kind of formulaic screenwriting of a hero, and it's just due to its success and the way it sells and the way it kind of why people resonate so much with it. So we can look like, why is this structure, why is this hero's journey so pervasive in religious and non-religious? And it obviously has to do, there's some universal connection that this allegory is making with people. All right, next. So why? One, social hierarchy, simple social hierarchy. When a person goes out and kills the dragon to get the gold, is the hero, they'll rise to the top of the social hierarchy, and they're admirable, they're good. You know, they did something valuable for the community. And what comes with this is success, power, sexual success in, like, you know, human cultures, but not necessarily the case in a lot of religious stories. And then what else does it do? It establishes an idea of good. So the hero is going to be viewed as a good person. You know, hero, like we say, like, and a lot in West is like, what is a good person in Christianity? It's Jesus, and that's like, a lot of people are like, oh, you follow in the footsteps of Jesus. These people are oftentimes shown an antithesis, like a bad person. Judas, in the story of Jesus, like God, Satan, good, evil. You can see it in, you know, the Egyptians and Moses, and even in the Odyssey, Penelope, suitors, just good and bad duality. So why is this so meaningful and pervasive? It reflects an internal and communal experience of, like, society promoting good, trying to find good. They serve as really a reflection of mankind's experiences, and, like, both affirmations and reminders of that virtue and the values that are at the root of the society. So it's rooted in our unconscious as humans, and it's constantly ingrained in through us through these stories. And it's kind of inherent and learned sense of good is at the forefront of the monomyth, and that's why they're so popular, especially in culture, and why this morality, this good and evil. When we're talking about religion, why they use the monomyth, it's because it's like, it's right there. It's a perfect example of good and evil, you know, at the forefront, and virtue and kind of exemplary behavior as a human. So it's fair to deduce the monomyth has a morally reaffirming influence on our society, and that's pervasive through the extreme relatability and appeal of these stories and the aspiration of virtue. All right, go. And this switch, go past this next one. I already talked about this. All right, so how does this all relate to ecosystems ecology? So first, I kind of laid out the adaptive cycle, just like kind of a basic connection between the monomyth and the adaptive cycle. It kind of follows the same structure. So you have the hero in the conservation phase, really at the beginning, and the exploitation, conservation, call to action, crossing the threshold into the release phase, into the, you know, the biggest changes in the hero, facing the trials in order to achieve the end means, reorganization, the return, like on the way back, return, and then back into the exploitation. You know, the cycle has adapted, it's changed, something has changed, and yeah, so that's the way those are similar. Yes. How much time do we have left?
You're at 8:25.
8:25? All right, we're good. All right. So let's look at, like, other ecosystems, how it relates to, like, other ecosystem terms. So I kind of listed out, came to 3 different conclusions in relating the monomyth and its, like, effect on cultures to our social ecosystem. So one, telling of the monomyth is a way for our society to self-organize and evolve by constantly bombarding ourselves with these aspirations of betterment as we perceive it, you know, through these tellings of these stories. This bombardment is not on purpose, rather it's unconscious manifestation from the result of just being humans. Our telling of the monomyth, and also us being humans, and also, you know, the movie producers unconsciously being bombarded with these stories themselves, because really at the basis of our culture is an internal reaction that has a positive effect on the entire social ecosystem. So self-organizing, our telling of these stories are kind of an unconscious self-organizing within our social system. Secondly, I concluded the monomyth at its core tells a story of humans overcoming struggle and achieving a means, and achieving this means is kind of self-organized criticality. The monomyth reflects a popular idea that fighting adversity and struggling itself is necessary for us to be good and achieve fulfillment, kind of saying that point of criticality is what keeps us evolving, as we talked about a lot in class. as a social system, we are constantly at a critical point to survive, and I think the monomyth feeds into that idea. All right, thirdly, the monomyth helps to create a social contract in a social ecosystem by reaffirming and establishing values and ideologies that facilitate social interaction and governing, right? It's a guideline, it's a set value, it's a set shared value of a culture. Another way of putting it is it creates rigidity, social rigidity within an ecosystem. And that's not to say it's good or bad, it does impede progress, but it is the way it is because it's just at the basis of everything. And that's why, as I said earlier, that's why these stories, that's why when you think of movies in America, you think of Star Wars, you think of Lord of the Rings, you think of Harry Potter. These are monomyths, these are heroes, these are good versus evil. And there's a reason for that. So, conclusions. Next slide. And here are just kind of the conclusions I reached. One, the monomyth's influence over our culture is due to both its appeal to our evolutionary unconscious human instinct as well as our taught cultural values. And obviously there's a connection between those two. That's why it's so pervasive, and it feeds, it's a positive feedback loop in a way. Another ecosystem connection. The monomyth reaffirms that human state of constant criticality is a catalyst for growth and success within us. The monomyth creates social rigidity by reaffirming and strengthening our social contract and bond, shared value, facilitating kind of connectivity in a social system. It is a way for our social ecosystems to self-organize. The monomyth defines what virtue is in the context of humanity and how to go about achieving it, good versus evil, the admirable man rising to the top of the social hierarchy. The monomyth is at the basis of a lot of Western morality and religious teaching of virtue, which is reflective of its inherent human morality. This story has been around forever, and that's why we see it. It even predates most of these religious texts, and we see it in these religious texts because it's the best way for these people to impart upon, their virtue, their teachings of morality. What is good versus evil? It's the hero. That's good. It's basically just. My final point, the monomyth is a guideline for what it means to be a good person, what human success looks like. And that's really what religion is, a lot of religion. In conclusion, the monomyth, it's pervasive for unconscious and conscious reasons. It's been used as a tool for teaching of morality. It has large implications in systems ecology. And that's my presentation. Thank you, Professor, and everyone else who actually watched this.